This one's massive. Washington lands a commitment from one of the best defensive linemen in the nation.
You are Locked On Huskies, your daily podcast on the Washington Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into a special bonus edition of the Locked On Huskies podcast. I'm Roman Tomashoff. I'm the site editor with Huskies Wire. Thanks for making this your first watch or first listen of the day, as we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. And just a quick reminder to all your videos out there, wherever you get this podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever that might be, make sure to click that subscribe button, click that little bell as well, so you never miss when we post a breaking news bonus show just like this one. And if you're on the audio only side of things, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Now, Washington is gaining a whole bunch of momentum on the recruiting trail, which is why I needed to jump on and make sure we talk about all this. I'm going to talk about a lot of that in a little bit because the biggest piece of that momentum has just announced his commitment. That's 4-star defensive lineman J.D. Hill, a 6'2", 275-pound product of Mission Viejo High School down in Southern California. And I'm just absolutely enamored with what this kid brings to the table. You turn on the film and yeah, it's all there. The length, the power, the first step, the explosiveness. It is all so much fun to watch. And I'm honestly shocked it took this long for a whole bunch of teams to catch on to him. Once I turned on the film, it's, oh wow, was he just buried behind a whole bunch of productive players in the secondary? Like Jaron Jones, 4-star Washington corner. Obviously they had 5-star Dijon Lee last year, who wound up at Alabama, was a big time Washington target as well. But this kid, you look at the numbers, it's incredible how productive he's been over his last 2 years of high school football. 189 tackles, 29.5 sacks. It's absolutely unbelievable. And like I said, there's so many traits that I want to make sure we spend a minute on. But the way this kid has risen over not even the last year, like the last 3 months, has been absolutely incredible. He started off the summer committed to Northern Arizona. And since then, he's certainly gained a lot of steam on the recruiting trail. He's up to 17 offers. His final 2 were Washington and West Virginia. Arizona State and Utah were also in the mix. And he was, I was going to say just highly regarded 3-star defensive lineman as he got through the course of his senior season. And then his senior year ends, all these evaluations take place, and boom. Now he's the number 3 highest rated player in Washington's class, behind 5-star offensive tackle Kodi Greene and 4-star safety Gavin Day. I'm going to talk about Gavin Day more in a little while here, but let's talk about JD. Now he's ranked 103 in the nation and the number 13 defensive lineman in the nation. He is now ranked higher than Derek Colman-Brusa. And I think it's a really interesting comparison to talk about the two of them, because Derek at 6'6", 275, probably pushing 280 pounds, moves the way he does. I think that's really interesting. I think both these guys absolutely deserve to be top 100 players. And I look at JD, and the thing that intrigues me the most about him is probably his versatility. Because like I said, his first step off the line of scrimmage is so much fun to watch. It's very much reminiscent of what Levi Onwuzurike looked like during his days at Washington, where it's just such a quick get off, and he's in the backfield before opposing offensive linemen are even out of their stance and have a chance to get a hand on him. And I think that's a lot of fun to watch. But one of the things, and I've had conversations with several sources around not just Washington, but other just recruiting programs just around college football, is one of the biggest things that I know the Huskies in particular are looking for is length, and arm length in particular, because it's great when you have some of these 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guys. But one of the things about JD that I think makes him so special is he just has insanely long arms at 6'2" and 275 pounds. And you can see that no matter where he lines up in the formation. And he's somebody who, he might play 5-tech at Washington. He might play a little bit of outside linebacker, a lot like the way Voit Tanufi thrived when he was at his best during his days as a Husky. And that's one of the things that really intrigues me about him, is the power is there. You can see the strength when it comes to setting the edge and defending the run, but those long arms are just so helpful when it comes to pass rushing and holding off opposing offensive linemen as they try to get hands into his chest. And as he continues to add weight and add strength, just seeing what kind of player he is now and how strong he is right now, it is such a fun thought, because having a guy like that in the middle, plus T.I. Umukais, plus Derek Colman-Brusa, this defensive line class went from being, you have some nice high-end players, but overall a disappointment when you think about some of the other guys you've been in on, some of the other guys you got on campus, right? Whether it be David Schwartzel, Landon Barnes, Fasiale, Tristan Gibbons, just throwing out some of the names of guys that did take official visits to Washington at different points in time. Getting a guy like JD, it's already a testament to Washington's evaluation to get a guy like that, just identify him, get in at the right time. I would say, I don't want to say they got in early by any means, because I think they were the last school to offer him, but you get in at the right time, you're able to earn a commitment. And then all of a sudden these recruiting sites and everything, they start catching on. And all of a sudden, Jedd Fisch, Jason Kafusi, this whole defensive line, this whole defensive staff, they all get a major boost in terms of, yeah, look, you're able to identify these guys, because again, he's not the only one. I'll talk about Gavin Day in a little while. I'll talk about Rahsjon Duncan here in a little while as well. Washington's coaching staff is one of the best in the nation when it comes to actual talent evaluations. When you look at some of the guys that are on this roster right now, look at what Desmond Roebuck's been able to do this season. Look at what some of these other lowly rated 3-star guys coming out of high school were able to do. Adam Muhammad is another one who comes to mind right off the bat. And if you're able to pair those kinds of players with guys who, yeah, again, the evaluation was there. The evaluation with JD has been spot on the entire time, who then also all of a sudden rises to become a borderline top 100 player in this class. That is the kind of recruiting that Washington needs to not just compete in this conference, but compete and get back to the college football playoff. I am so excited about what JD's commitment just means for Washington as a whole, because again, he has all of the traits to succeed as a defensive lineman. I'm really curious to see if he is going to be one of those guys who is able to enroll in January and then get on the field early, because at 6'2", 275, he might look like he's a little bit undersized for the position right now. But if he gets in January, look at John Mills. Look at what he was able to do with just 8-9 months in a college strength program. And it's the same thing on film, where you saw all the physical traits and he was able to put them together very quickly once he got to campus. I would say it's a lot harder right now on the defensive line to do that than the offensive line. But with the way this coaching staff has been able to evaluate and develop these guys rather quickly, it's a really exciting thought to think about. And that just kind of leads us into a broader point as well, is JD is not the only one. And we'll get to that right after a message from our good friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. One of the reasons that this is so exciting is you look at some of these other names that Washington is in on, right? Let's start with the official visit targets from the Purdue weekend. That's 4-star wide receiver Jordan Clay, who's still a top 150 prospect, 4-star wide receiver Trez Davis, the Tulane commit, who is now up in the top 200 in this latest rankings update, and 4-star defensive lineman Jae'lin Battle from Oklahoma, another Baylor commit, who got a huge bump into the top 175, I believe it was. Washington is doing so well in terms of getting these guys on campus. Now it's about closing. Because let's say you can add one of those 4 guys, including 4-star offensive tackle Marlon Bright, alongside J.D. Hill. All of a sudden, these trenches, everything, the skill positions, it all looks like what you need to compete in the Big Ten, because all of this is great. All this is good enough. And that's without mentioning a few other guys who've been on official visits here in recent weeks, whether it be 3-star tight end Kekua Mua, the Florida commit, 3-star linebacker Ramzak Fruin, the former UCLA commit, who Washington is certainly enamored with. And the pairing of him and Cedric Reina-Sale is a really exciting thought to me personally in the middle of the field. You look at all of that, you add just a couple of those guys. This class is already ranked really highly. I believe they're up to 16 right now in the 247 Sports composite ranking. They're starting to get a big bump on Rivals. Dre Pollard is a top 10 athlete over on the Rivals side of things. We're seeing so many Husky commits also get bumps that it's just such a nice testament to this staff's evaluation. And it all just builds into more momentum, because these, I'm sure a lot of these recruits, and not just the 26 class, but 27 as well, we'll see some of these big names continue to get those bumps and say, oh yeah, that guy might end up at Washington, I'm really interested in playing with him. Let me go make sure I give that a longer look. We've seen so many of those big time names come on campus in recent months from the 27 class as well. There are so many names. I'll list a couple. John Iowane, the 4-star defensive tackle, 4-star safety Gavin Williams being another one, 4-star corner Aaron Washington. There's so many big time names that Washington has brought to campus over these last couple of weeks from both classes that it's just a really exciting thought for what could be next for this Jedd Fisch class. And let's just pair that with what is already part of this class. Let's start with Rahsjon Duncan, because outside of J.D. Hill, Rahsjon Duncan might be the biggest riser in the country. We saw him get a nice little bump to like an 89 or whatever it was on 247 Sports after he committed to Washington. But he just got a much bigger bump. Rivals moved him from unranked outside the top 300, inside the top 100, number 78 overall. He's a top 200 player on the 247 Sports side of things. That dude can absolutely play. And that one in particular is a huge testament to Washington's talent evaluation, because Washington they knew they had one spot remaining in the secondary at the point in time where they did wind up taking Rahsjon Duncan's commitment. And that one didn't seem like a certainty for a little while. And the fact that Washington decided to go ahead and prioritize Rahsjon Duncan, that's a huge credit to several members of the staff. I know Ryan Walters was integral with that. You look at some of these other guys, John Richardson, I think Marcus Griffin was a big part of that recruitment as well. There are so many of these players that have just gotten really nice bumps since they've committed to Washington, which is something that feels somewhat foreign compared to past years where dudes will drop 50, 100 spots. Sometimes they even drop a star once Washington is their future home. A lot of that can be really ridiculous. And to see that start to go the other way is just a testament to what Jedd Fisch is doing, because there's so much to like, again, about the talent evaluation, about what this coaching staff is building. And Rahsjon Duncan is far from the only one. You look at Gavin Day, who was another guy who was, mid-tier 3-star, and then he gets a big bump right before he winds up committing to Washington. And now he gets another one. Now he's ranked number 77 in the country, according to 247 Sports. These rankings are, yes, they're all arbitrary. There is so much about them that don't matter in the long run, but you think about the things that do matter in terms of college football, and you look at things like the blue chip ratio, and you look at things just like continuing to get this notoriety when it comes to not just revenue share, but NIL investments and interest from players all over the country as you move into the Big Ten, where you need to recruit all over the country. You can't just stay on the West Coast anymore. That's where the priority should be, and that's where, let's call it 80 to 85% of your class should come from. But you need to be able to venture into Texas, to venture into Florida, to venture into Ohio, and just into the Midwest and further east and get outside of your comfort zone a little bit. And if Washington is continuing to get these commitments from these high-level players who then will continue to move up over the course of their junior and senior season, and a lot of that sometimes can be thanks to the coaching staff, who will give them very particular plans on things to work on during their senior year, I think that's a really exciting thought, because it's not just that you're pairing these guys who are continuing to rise. It's, in this class in particular, you are pairing them with some absolutely elite prospects. You look at Kodi Greene, Derek Colman-Brusa, the way that those kids move at their sizes on the offensive line and defensive line is absolutely otherworldly. It is so much fun to watch, just the way that Derek Colman-Brusa can convert speed to power. And the fact that he said on this show a couple of months ago, I know that I can run over everybody in the Metro League, not in a disrespectful way, but the fact that he is 6'5", 270 pounds, whatever he was at the time, and that he was making a big emphasis on working on other parts of his game. You see those things shine through in his senior film. You see the pass rush moves. You see the effort. You see all these different things that are just so exciting to think about on playing the defensive line from a kid like that, a local kid. And then Kodi, another local kid who plays down at Mater Dei. The way he moves at 6'6" and 320 pounds is, I know I just said it, but I have to say it again. It's otherworldly. It is so much fun to watch that kid pass protect, and just the way he understands not just leverage and getting to the second level and how he can climb there and use his feet and all these different finer points of technique. It's all so much fun to watch. And to think about the fact that that kid could be just contributing in a big role next year along the offensive line is very, very important, because as Jedd Fisch and his coaching staff continue to build out what's next for Washington and how you can continue to be one of the 5 or 6 best programs in the Big Ten every single season, you need to keep recruiting classes like this. And this is a really great start. And now it's about two things. It's about getting these kids to sign on the dotted line, which is always not an easy thing. You got a couple weeks left till signing date, and it feels like the majority of this class is extremely locked in, which is a great sign. But then on top of that, it's about doing it again, and then doing it again, and doing it again. And in the 27 class, I know that we just spent a lot of time talking about JD Hill and how big of a win that is, but there are some more big-time players down in California that can absolutely beef up the interior of the defensive line. And if Washington is able to stack Derek Colman-Brusa, T.I.U. Mukais, and J.D. Hill with a John Iowane, with a Tavita Nonu from right here at O'Day High School, with a Troy Bowens from Sutter High School down in California, Elijah Harmon, Miles Smith at Inglewood, with some of those other guys. There's so much to like about what could be next for this Husky team, and I think that this coaching staff is doing a really nice job on the recruiting trail. But that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And if you like what we have to offer here on Locked On Huskies, please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. We're there. We're everywhere. We're updating this channel with new content every single day. So please make sure you click that like button, click that little bell so you don't miss when we post a new show. Plus, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them right down below in the comment section. And if you're audio only, please give us a 5-star review, as it does help us out a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time.